This is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic.
Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It feels like I'm saying this each and every single week now, and I think it's because I am. But it's going to be a stacked weekend in professional wrestling as we have WWE SmackDown tonight with quite an interesting card, and then AEW Collision tomorrow evening with another interesting card. So we have a lot to break down tonight, and because of that, we need a stacked panel. Firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday, everyone. It's another awesome week in wrestling this week. We've had a blast so far. SmackDown tonight. Back at it with the Bloodline storyline. A ton to get into. I'm stoked to be here. Let's get right after it.
Absolutely. And shout out because we have a comment here over on YouTube from Greg Felty. Hello to you and welcome to the podcast. But also joining us today, we have the head of reviews here at WR, Coby Galenzoski. How are things, Coby?
It's going great. It's been a while, and it's obviously been since Sunday since I showed up. Monday, I said, "Are you doing Collision?" Nah. We're on the LA Knight train here on Wrestling Republic. We're here. We got SmackDown. Obviously, LA Knight's in a program on Raw, but who knows? Will the man show up? We can all only hope he will tonight.
Coby still refusing to watch AEW Collision unless he's in the arena. But we're also joining us tonight. We have Shad Huda. How are you, Shad?
What's going on, fellas? Man, I'm here for the third time this week. The fans can't, get enough of me. But I haven't been on a Friday in a while, so this is where I had my first ever show. Excited to be back, man. Got a great weekend of pro wrestling to talk about it, and let's get right into it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a banger. But talking about things that are a banger, what is always a banger are the Bloodline segments on SmackDown. And we have another one tonight as Jimmy Uso will be acknowledging the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And the big question going into this segment is, will Jimmy actually acknowledge him? Because I just have a weird feeling that Jimmy's going to turn on Roman again tonight. I have a weird feeling that Jimmy isn't on the side of Jay and isn't on the side of Roman. I think he's turned against them both. He's gone rogue. I think Jimmy's going to turn on Roman tonight, and then Roman's off TV for a few months again. They do the Jimmy and Jay feud. He comes back. They then tease a triple threat or something. Solo turns on Roman, and I think they're building towards a Bloodline fatal four-way. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso. I think that's the direction. But Clark, give me your thoughts.
It's really weird. There's a small group of people outside of my mini studio here. They're chanting, "Clark, you called it." I got to get them to quiet down here if I can. But no, I see Jimmy acknowledging Roman Reigns tonight, to be totally honest. I really do. I think he does. I don't see why not. We've seen cracks in the bloodline, but we haven't seen a total separation. We saw a civil war, but now most are back together. And I think there's more opportunity for more storytelling. We've talked about this like a baseball game in the innings. We're only in the sixth. Those last three innings better.
We're actually in the third. I was wrong.
We're still the third? Okay, yeah, we're still in the third inning. We got 6 innings to go. And if that's the case, there's more room for more storytelling if Jimmy does acknowledge Roman Reigns tonight than if he doesn't. Does that mean that I want him to? I don't know. I'm actually not totally sure myself on that. I wouldn't mind Jimmy being between the two, saying I don't want to be around either of you and having his solo run. But I think if that's the case, we're kind of playing a meaningless inning. And we end up with Jimmy in a title match against Reigns or in a match against Solo, losing and eventually acknowledging Reigns in the end anyway. Let's get that over with and let's get on with this. Let's get to the 5th inning. How about that?
That's a good perspective. It really, really is. The fact that we are only in the third inning, and I made a mistake the other day on the podcast. I said that they now said they're in the sixth inning. I was wrong. I misread something very clearly. My bad, my mistake. We're still only in the third inning. We're at the end of the third inning, but we're still in the third inning. And it's like, how long is this title reign going to go on for? Numero One Superfly is in the comments. Shout out Numero One Superfly, and they are asking, do you want the Bloodline Civil War Fatal 4-Way to happen at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble? I personally say Royal Rumble, just because Survivor Series, I'd like to see War Games main eventing. Probably not involving the Bloodline this time. That'll probably be a Judgment Day thing on Raw or something. But I'd like to see a War Games match at Survivor Series main eventing. We've also got David Sheldon. Shout out David, who is saying, I've made my feelings known. Prove me wrong tonight, WWE. And yes, there's been a lot of criticism over this storyline, over Jimmy Uso turning on Jay last week at SummerSlam. Tonight is when WWE can prove all those doubters wrong, and I think they will do. But Coby, what do you think? Do you think perhaps Jimmy won't acknowledge Roman tonight?
That's the thing, is I don't know where they're going, and I think they are very much putting the emphasis towards, is Jimmy Uso going to acknowledge Roman, or does Jimmy Uso lie on this? Did he do this to spite Jay? Did he do this for Roman? We don't know. Like you said, we're talking about the inning. We're using the innings analogy. Is it 7 or is it 9 innings? We don't know. At the end of the day, this is the thing. Coming out of SummerSlam, and this is something, obviously, there's a lot of people on social media and wrestling fans that are going to notice these, or that are going to try to, this Easter egg or this thing. Roman Reigns didn't know what happened. Roman Reigns didn't understand Jimmy doing the entire attack, the entire turn. But Heyman looked like he knew something. Heyman had the smirk. Heyman had he was puffing up his chest. He was like, oh, I'm happy. I'm good. Things are falling into place. Heyman is the one conspirating. We have a lot of ways to go about this. WWE does have a lot of angles they can approach this storyline. But this is the thing, and this can be entirely summed up with one thing here. WWE's one job tonight is to connect the dots and make this something investable. Because wrestling fans, they clamor for long-term storytelling, but they fail to stay invested on big turns and relevations within the story like this. This is a long story, and this is one of the climaxes, one of the big events that happened in the storyline. And now wrestling fans are starting to hate it again. You can't argue you wanted it if you're not going to sit there for the whole ride.
Well, that's a very good point.
They got to make this something good.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
They got to make it make sense.
Yes, make it make sense. For years, wrestling fans have wanted more long-term storylines, and this has been one of the best long-term storylines I personally think ever in wrestling. Presuming it carries on the trajectory it's currently on. Who knows how it'll end? Hopefully, it won't be like Game of Thrones. And hopefully, it doesn't take us, 3 years to get 3 innings, and then we do the final 6 in 2 months on TV, and there's 10 feuds or whatever. Game of Thrones reference there, and I realized that most people probably will not get that one. But I hope they don't rush it. Long-term storylines, we wanted them for years, and they've given them to us. Well, let's appreciate it, and let's strap ourselves in for the ride. But what about you, Shad? What is your thoughts heading into this tonight?
I mean, going into it, I know that there's a lot of negative notions towards how the main event ended last week, and it's always going back to, WWE always does this thing where they want to break up tag teams. In my mind, I feel like this story itself kind of makes sense for why you can, and I won't even say completely break up a tag team, but break them up for the moment. Like, this is a lot of family tension happening between all counterparts. I mean, we've seen their youngest brother want to fight them. And what's the difference of having the twins wanting to fight each other? I mean, you've seen how everything played out between Jimmy and Jay throughout, going into this match and prior to it, and even going back from a year ago. Like, there's just probably a lot of heated turmoil between both of them. And I think this is adds a different wrinkle to it, which is gonna make it pretty fun to see. But in my opinion, I don't think that Jimmy is going to, in a sense, align with Roman. I think it's gonna be a sense where he's gonna be like, I had to do what I needed to do. I had to handle what I needed to handle. This got nothing to do with you. This is between me and my brother, and we got some unfinished business to do amongst each other. And I think you can build a feud upon that way and do it like that. And I think it's gonna be, a different curveball to it, but we can see what's going on. And my cat making the cameo in the back. Salute to him.
We love to see it.
He's pretty excited for the storyline. He's watching SmackDown with me tonight.
Oh, whenever the Bloodline enter, whenever you hear Roman Reigns' theme, all the cats in the world just go up to the TV screens and watch. But no, absolutely. I mean, we're big cat guys here at Wrestling Republic. We really are. We saw my cats, apart from Clark. We saw my cats run in the other day. We saw Ignacio's. We're seeing everybody's cats run in, and I love it personally.
Don't worry for the dog lovers out there. I'll get my dogs on the show someday. I got good dogs. As the lone dog guy.
Cats versus dogs. That's going to be Wrestling Republic's version of Rough and Rowdy. But now let's move on and let's talk about the United States Championship. Let's talk about Austin Theory, somebody who, he divides opinion at times. Some people love him. Some people, don't love him. They think he's a bit bland. I think he's got a lot of potential, but something's missing. And I've said it before. Usually I'm somebody who has all these, ideas about, what could potentially happen and how to, fix these characters. I usually love that type of thing. With Austin Theory, I actually don't know how. And he's the one guy I can't figure it out with. I just don't know what you could do with him. I really, really don't, because I think he has potential. When I saw him in person at Money in the Bank, I actually thought he came across better as a heel in the arena than he does on television. But, it's not coming across the viewers, and that is an issue. But he will be defending that United States Championship against Santos Escobar tonight on SmackDown. So the question is tonight the night that Theory drops the United States Championship, Clark?
I hope so. I mean, I've been begging for it for what feels like forever now. I mean, please get the U.S. title off this guy. He failed a cash-in with the Money in the Bank briefcase for this very belt in this calendar year. What are we doing here, guys? There's no steam behind Austin Theory. There hasn't been for months. Nothing happened out of Mania after the Cena rivalry. It's kind of a joke. I forget that Gunther is on Raw and that the mid-card title on SmackDown isn't the Intercontinental belt. I forgot that anyone has the United States title, because we've got the generic creative character from My Rise out here carrying it and not saying anything for months on end. And it's ridiculous. Let's give it to Santos, somebody with some steam, maybe LA Knight, or anybody with, how about a pulse? How about somebody that's really relevant would be awesome. And I'll be stoked to see it when it happens. And hopefully it's tonight, but I don't have any faith. I've been watching the same show for 8 months now.
That's brutal. You just buried the bloke harder than John Cena did.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Austin Theory. I bet we'd be buddies. But
he's sounding like MJF over there. Trying to call him a created character, and that's what he's doing to Roderick Strong on AEW.
Mr. Generic. It's yeah. I mean, and also A-Town Down's Usher and Ludacris. Come on, man.
Fair enough. I mean, that's certainly a way to look at it.
He can't be from Atlanta, bro.
I don't even think he is. He's a Florida
the way
guy.
that I look at it really is that he's young.
He's named Austin.
Look at the amount of guys we've thrown in the deep end in WWE over the years and who've just failed and then ended up doing great. There's quite a lot of them, right? He's got age on his side. He really, really does. It's not like he's in the WWE World Championship picture here. And let's be real as well. His booking is also to fault.
But he's fresh on the heels of being in the World Championship picture, carrying the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they went, oh no, and had him
Is that his
fail
fault?
to cash in. No, it's not. I'm not blaming Austin Theory, but speaking of book it better, how about we book Austin Theory? Give him a chance.
Stealing my catchphrases.
What are we
now.
looking at? In theory, if he did anything of at least the cell phone gimmick that we made fun of for 6 months when he did the baby oil in Lashley's eyes, at least he had a gimmick. Now what? He's
That's
just
true.
a guy in shorts.
That's true.
I compare it to like, and I always compare stuff to sports. It's like you have a 21-year-old young player, rookie quarterback or whatever, and you just
Respect.
throw him in there, and he's not ready for, he doesn't understand the game, the processing, and all that, and his tape becomes really bad where everyone is like, get rid of him already. You haven't let him organically grow into the role that they put him in. And then, in my opinion, I think he's an incredible worker. I think he has loads of potential, but they put him in position way too quick for
I
what he was
agree,
ready for.
and I think his new ceiling, because we talked about how high it was before, is he could be the Geno Smith of professional wrestling. Would be an awesome accomplishment.
Explain it.
Yeah, I had no idea who Geno Smith
God
is.
gets the joke. The quarterback.
Basically, he was a quarterback who initially wasn't good, and it took him years upon years until he became an older veteran, early 30s, to become, what we saw his potential to be as a young player coming into the league. I mean, that's not a bad shout. I like it.
No, it's a great one. That is a great comparison to be made, Clark. Because yes, that's what I mean. Let's be real about it. Roman Reigns was. I'm going to be honest. I actually thought Roman Reigns was doing a bit better than Austin Theory is now. But even still, I thought he was overrated at the time. But even still, right, Roman was not on that level. The pandemic hit. He had to go away for a few months. He came back and he hit another level. He improved. Something changed there, right? And yes, the pandemic allowed him to do things with his character, which he might not have otherwise been able to do. But I think we've seen it with John Cena too. Sometimes it's just moments in your career where something just needs to click. And once it happens, it's good. But before it happens, it's a difficult situation to be in. And like you mentioned, Shad, he's been put in that position too early. He has been, and that's where I'll agree, Clark.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Like, Theory, I want him to change my mind, right? Like, he's got all the physical tools, and I've even seen flashes of charisma, right? Like, I know I've been harsh on him here, but that's what's so frustrating is that it's been this long of a run, and it's like, I think it's hurt him more than it's helped him, which is, to you guys' points, not his fault. But something's got to change.
Yeah.
Right? There needs to be a pivot.
I mean, that's the thing is we're coming out of this not match, but we're coming out of the storyline, and like we said, something needs to click. I can't remember exactly. I think this was sometime in June. One of our Mailbag Monday questions was, who do you think is the Mount Rushmore in the next 10 years? Like in 10 years, who do you see at the top as the top four in the company? None of us said Austin Theory. That's just and I found that fascinating, that show. And I said it on that show saying, well, why did none of us say that? And that it's as simple as that. Nothing is clicking. The one thing I want to say is his independent run, at least his top company run in the independents was in Evolve, and he had a manager, and then Priscilla Kelly. She's now Gigi Dolan.
Yeah.
Do they need to give him I don't want to say a mouthpiece, but do they need to give him something other than?
I like the idea of him having like a valet.
Selfie? Like, do they need to give him a valet? But then then they suffer the same thing with Cross, as like Adam Cole said in that promo. You got all the thing. You got the smoke. You got the mirrors. You got the girl, and you still can't. When they ring the bell, you still don't feel special. Is that going to be the same thing that could happen? Obviously, time would tell if that's the direction. But he was successful when he had a valet. And then he was successful when he was dumb himbo Austin Theory in NXT doing the way. He was good in the way. I don't know where you can take him.
I like the idea of the valet.
Is it a face run? I don't think it's a face run, but he hasn't had a face run. Except for the short way stuff. But I don't know where you go with Theory. I don't.
I think
And
long
it's
term it
hard to
actually
say
is a
that.
face run, but I think he needs to. It's from. I think that's about a decade away. So you
Well,
really need to build in first. I think a valet is actually the way to go. Yes, you do risk the possibility of carrying cross situation, like you said. That's a great point, but I think you've just got to kind of risk it there. With a comment from Matt Williams, I'm unable to show this because it's got a naughty word in it, but it says an unpopular opinion, but based on the build, I've been disappointed with every match Roman Reigns has been in. Oh, I disagree wholeheartedly.
Totally disagree.
I'll agree with the SummerSlam Jey Uso match. I think you can claim that. But I mean, and what Matt Williams is also saying is he's saying put him in front of an ECW crowd and
Yes,
tell me
sir.
how they would react.
See, you flip me back, Matt. I'm with you on that one.
Like, even then, just to shortly say it, he's getting people to chant "F you" a bunch of times within the last year. We saw it at the Rumble. We saw it at SummerSlam.
Happened
probably
at SmackDown as well, Money in the Bank weekend.
There's going to be there's a lot of things, and he's getting great reactions, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. No, I will agree with that, absolutely. But is it heat or is it go heat? That's the question. Number one, Superfly is asking, do you think Theory should take time off TV after dropping the championship to train and to improve
Very
his
much
character?
so.
I say give him 2 months off, give him a valet, repackage him slightly, bring him back. I think that's probably the way to go now, looking at it. I wouldn't say take him off for ages. I don't think there's that much that he needs to improve about his wrestling or anything. He just needs to repackage himself, and to repackage somebody, it's always ideal to take some time off.
Give him jorts.
No jorts, Clark. No jorts. But let's now move on and let's talk about somebody who we were just talking about, Karrion Kross, because tonight he is once again facing AJ Styles on SmackDown. Now, hopefully, this match will be better than it was when we last saw it. But Coby, what's your thoughts heading into this one?
So the last time this match happened was at SmackDown in MSG, where obviously Tribal Court went pretty freaking long on that show. But at the end of the day, and I said this, if you were going to continue this storyline, you should have had Kross just beat up AJ Styles that night. You don't have a match because that was a short match where Styles got the win, and it's like, oh, that happened. Like there's a lot of questions surrounding this match that I can ask myself. What are we doing? What is the goal? Because AJ and Kross's feud has little to no kindling in the fire. This is a fire that is barely burning, and it's like, oh, this is happening. And this is supposed to kind of be a top storyline on SmackDown, or at least a mid-card storyline, because obviously the bloodline's there. I don't know. But the more important question to me is, why did they continue the feud? What purpose is there of continuing this feud if you're not going to have Kross win this match, at least tonight, or win the final match? I saw a post about it not a couple days ago, but within the last few days. There was like, oh, Karrion Kross, they're not telling this story, but Karrion Kross has taken away so much stuff from the people he's feuded with. He's taken away something from Drew McIntyre. He's taken away Shinsuke's honor. He's taken away Ray's patience, and the next week, Ray was able to attack Dominic. There's angles you can approach this. He took away the Madcap funny guy persona that Madcap Moss had, and now Madcap Moss is Riddick Moss. We're looking at this, and it's like, okay, you can connect these dots, but it shouldn't be our position to do that. It's WWE's fault, or not fault, but it's WWE's position to tell us that story if that's the direction you're going. As if Kross has this everlasting effect over wrestlers he's feud with, you gotta tell us that story at the end of the day.
I love that, Coby. I really, really do. What you just said, those were some great points. They should explain it. They should tell us that. Absolutely. And I mean, the angle which, they're seemingly going in with this match, what Karrion Kross said a couple weeks ago was, AJ, you beat me. Beat him very quickly. But AJ, you beat me. But I can beat you in any time. In any match, I can win out of nowhere. It just seems a bit lame. So I do agree. They should have, not done that first match. It should have been an angle or something like that, because that would have worked better than what they've actually done. But now let's move on, and let's move on to All Elite Wrestling. Let's specifically move on to the AEW Women's Division. Now, absolutely everybody in professional wrestling has had complaints over the AEW Women's Division in recent weeks. However, they've been in the main event of Dynamite the last 2 weeks now. They're doing a tournament to find out, the fatal four-way for All In. They seem to be starting to, build some more storylines, and they're continuing to build one on Collision tonight, because there's still only one women's match on Collision. I'd personally like that to be, more than that on a weekly show, but oh well. But this one, it's not a throwaway title match. This is a continuation of what happened last week. Chris Statlander, of course, defeated Mercedes Martinez last week on Collision, and that led to Diamante attacking Statlander. So now Statlander will be teaming with Willow tomorrow night, to take on Mercedes and Diamante. And I'm glad they're continuing this story. And I hope, it continues to be interesting. And most importantly, I hope it's a good match on Collision. But Shad, what is your thoughts heading into this?
Now, I've on record have been, not the biggest advocate for what the booking is on AEW on the Dynamite, but Saturday Night Collision, I'm actually enjoying this a little bit. I think one of my biggest gripes was just, storylines and feuds that progressed, and this is one that is progressing, and it's, showing talent that are all great across the board. I think Statlander winning the belt off of Jade, I feel like initially we haven't really seen too much of her. She's had a few matches, but she hasn't really felt like a champ. Like, that's a major accomplishment when you beat someone who's won 50 matches and not had one loss, and getting that. Like, I feel like you should have just kept boosting her up, but it is what it is. We got her in a feud with someone who else was a former champ in ROH with Mercedes Martinez, and you're seeing the heel side of her, and you're finally getting Diamante on television. Like, this is a person who has been, underutilized for the longest time on AEW, who's having, great feuds on the Dark and Elevation time when it was still going on. And now you kind of give her a character and you put her in a position with Mercedes Martinez. And I think that's great. You get more people on your screen. Willow's there. Willow is a super, woman. She's a superhero. She's the nicest person in the world. She's got her friends back. But we'll see what happens, because I would like to see Willow eventually. I would like this to lead to obviously Statlander and Willow winning, but I would like to see Stat kind of not go full heel, but kind of be a little neutral, and like her kind of watching her back on Willow, and maybe have them build a feud down the road, and eventually maybe get Willow to be that champion over her. I was hoping Willow was going to be the one to dethrone Jade, but she wasn't able to. But I think that you can build a nice program for that, because when I look at Chris Statlander, maybe it's just the aesthetic of her, but I feel like she could be a good tweener / possibly being a heel character. She's got like an edge look to her, like an edgy look to her, and I feel like just the babyface personality. I know everyone likes her and whatnot. Not the biggest fan of it. I don't think she cuts very good babyface promos. Big, strong, got a dark aesthetic to her with the look. I think she'd be a good heel, and I think her and Willow would have banger matches and could have a very fun feud. But it's a wait and see thing going on right now. But I'll be tuned in for the match tomorrow night.
Yes, absolutely. That is a very, good point. Perhaps a heel turn could, well, even a heel turn, tweener turn type thing could be interesting for sure. Matt Williams is talking about Diamante, and he is saying that Diamante has an A+ entrance music. It is a good theme. It absolutely is. And yeah, he's saying gunshots in a theme is always cool. We've also got a comment from Bobby Batito, who is saying, do you guys think we will see Thunder Rosa show up on AEW Collision? I would love that to happen.
I'm not sure she's cleared yet, but I think when she is, right?
Yeah. She gave a medical
I think she's still not cleared.
Shout out to my boy Bobby also. That's my boy.
Shout out Bobby.
Shout out, monster shout out
as well. But I'd love to see her back in action very, very soon. She gave a medical update recently saying she's getting closer. She's being checked out by AEW doctors. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her back in action because she was a real highlight in the AEW women's division. And I think, again, the more stacked roster they have, the more stories that they can tell. Let's just hope they do get told, but I think they are heading in the right direction. We also, from the last segment, I've got to go back to this, got a comment from Matt Williams who was saying no cap Riddick Moss was right there. That would have been gold, and that really would be. And we've also got Numero One Superfly saying, what do you expect Miro to do at All In? I'd love to see Miro.
Probably nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to most probably.
I was gonna say he's not gonna be on the
I
show.
was about to say, hopefully
Probably
beat someone up.
Unless they're gonna do like a number one contendership for some title between him and like a Wardlow. I don't know. Like,
I think a Miro versus
doubt
Cassidy match. I think that's potentially, but that would be a really
I'm
rushed feud.
I'm pretty sure it's him and Mox. Because that's
might be
the
right
direction
there,
they've used
yeah.
already.
They kind of have, though, taken the best friends out of that storyline now. That's the only thing about it. But who knows?
Yeah.
They might bring them back in. We'll have to wait and see. Miro versus Orange Cassidy should happen soon, and it'll be money whenever it does happen. I'm getting a bit of indigestion, you guys. But now let's move on to the next segment. And let's talk about the AEW, the All Elite Wrestling Trios Championships, because the House of Black, we've seen them, they've had a great reign so far, will be defending against CMFTR, CM Punk and FTR tonight on Collision. Now, I said my thoughts on this last week, right? Why, oh, why would you randomly announce this if they didn't have something planned? And by something, I mean CMFTR versus the Elite at All Out. I said it on Monday's show. You have 1 week, right? Only 1 week to build something for All Out. Most people are going to buy All In. Most people will not be willing to buy 2 pay-per-views in a row. What can you do to get people to spend their hard-earned money 2 weeks in a row? Well, CMFTR versus the Elite, that big money feud is how to do it. Some people in our Instagram comments when I posted that take were like, but there'd be no build. With something like this, he doesn't need a build because nearly everybody knows what happened. But more importantly, would they be willing to work with each other enough for it to have a build? Is this one of those situations where they can only stand to be in the same room together one time only, and that one time only being in the ring? Perhaps that's the situation there, and that's why I'm not against this match just being thrown together in a week. I'd be down for that, and I think that's the direction they're going to go. I called it on Monday, and I'll stand by it now. My thought has not changed. Otherwise, this match makes no sense to me whatsoever. But Shad, give me your thoughts on this one.
For the House of Black and CFM, I mean, this match is for the trios title tomorrow night, just so I'm not mistaken on it.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I feel like there's gonna be some sort of there's got to be something that goes within it, because I feel like both teams. I don't want to see House of Black lose their title, but I agree with you. I feel like there is gonna be some lead going in to the All In pay-per-view, because I know the FTR is going against the Bucks coming up at All Out. I'm getting All In.
All In.
All in. So yeah, I think I agree with you. I feel like the direction should be that 6-person tag match going into All Out, and I feel that you can put yourself in position for it. But in regards to tomorrow night, I mean, it should be a great match. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that all 6 of these wrestlers have done on Saturdays for Collision. I feel that just the House of Black, they're one of the more fun units on AEW television. I feel like their trios run has been pretty solid. And I mean, it should overall be a pretty good match. I mean, we've seen them have pretty good matches throughout the entire time. You got FTR in it, you got a Punk. I mean, it should be a good match. And I think I'm assuming that House of Black will probably end up being the victors towards it. And I feel like there's gonna be something surprising is gonna happen tomorrow. I feel you'll see some member of the Elite come in towards it, but
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see. I'm hoping, man. Me, I've always said that match is the match that has to happen if they want to draw and make money. Punk has to fight one of these guys from there, and that's what we need. Obviously, you can kind of sandwich it a little bit, having FTR, because I'm sure FTR is cool with all parties, but I mean, this is what AEW fans, this is what wrestling fans want. So hopefully we get to it.
Absolutely. A lot of us do want to see it. A lot of people have been, basically just asking for it over and over and over again. And we got a comment here from Numero One Superfly, who's asking just a random prediction, but either the Elite screw CMFTR or Kenny Omega that's costing them the match. The reason I don't think that will happen is, again, like CM Punk's currently doing a feud, with Samoa Joe. I don't know why, but I completely forgot his name for a split second there. But Samoa Joe, they're in a feud, so I don't think they're going to start building two feuds on top of each other. I think they're going to keep the FTR Young Bucks thing separate, and the Punk Joe stuff separate until after All In. And I think there's that week gap where they build this feud out of nowhere, maybe right at the end of All In. However, there's another theory we have here from Bobby Petito again. Shout out Bobby, who was saying I could see an Andrade group show up on AEW Collision. Perhaps so. I mean, again, this match just is very random. But Coby, what are your thoughts?
I think that's the thing, is you hit the nail right on the head right here. And I mean, that's the thing. This match, yes, it's out of the blue. Yes, it's random. Yes, there's no rhyme or reason to this match even being booked. But that's a lot of what AEW does. At the end of the day, the importance of this match is legitimately high, because it's gonna give us, the fans, a view of what's to come for the double whammy of All In and All Out. At the end of the day, we're gonna know whether or not we're gonna get that trios match at All Out. Of course, we have FTR versus the Young Bucks at All In. Of course, we're obviously gonna have Punk versus Joe All In as well. At the end of the day, we know there's probably a direction to have one of the shows is gonna have an Andrade versus Malachi Black match. Does Andrade have a group? We don't know. There's a lot of ways we can go, but we can obviously have an opinion and have a good idea of the direction of what's to come, because a few weeks ago we didn't. I was saying it, okay, well, your double whammy for Punk was All In was Joe and All Out was Ricky Starks. They already took that match. And unless they're gonna just whip out another rematch and like, oh yeah, we'll do the rubber match at All Out. I don't know if there's enough juice into that feud to get a third match, but I don't know where Ricky Starks goes either, and that's something I don't want to say, but it is. Well, he's not in any match. At the end of the day, that's the thing. It's the same question as the Cross and Styles match. Why are we booking this match? Because that's the thing, is CMFTR can't really lose. Yes, it's a trios capacity, but you're billing this, CM Punk's the real world champion. FTR is in a championship reign. Of course, we don't want them to lose it to the Bucks, but they very much might. But House of Black couldn't either, because they really haven't faced a credible trio aside from Daddy Ass and the Guns. Like, House of Black need an injection into this tag run, other than we're gonna do an Andrade feud where Andrade doesn't have a trio. So I don't know where this match goes, and I mean that's part of what's interesting about it. But it's like, why is this happening? Is the biggest question to me. I don't know. We'll find out after it, and we'll find out. We can probably have a good guess of where we're going after this.
Absolutely. No, you made some great points there. But I know, Clark, you cannot wait to give your take on this one. So, Clark,
his leg is itching.
I've been chomping at the bit. I've been chomping at the bit to get after this one. I was there when the Elite won the trios titles at All Out 2022 before Brawl Out. They obviously gave those up. That's why this is happening. There's one fight to make in AEW, not a wrestling match, not anything else. It's CMFTR versus the Elite, and that's how you build one in a week. It's built itself for a year. And if you add the trios titles to it, it makes it that much sweeter. And it gives you more room to play with at All In. And we still have time. There's still a few weeks. This is our Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Tommy Hitman Hearns. This is our war. This is the fight everyone wants to see. This is our Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran. This is the one. And you got to strike while the iron's hot. And it's time. And in Chicago, of all places, that's where you do this. Tonight, it's unfortunate because I love the House of Black myself, and I feel like there'll be a little bit collateral damage in this situation. But if anyone can bounce back, it's the House of Black. So I'm not worried about that as much as I am. Do this while you can, please. Guys, everybody that has worked any kind of job has worked with someone they don't like. If CM Punk and FTR can work with the Elite, they need to do that on television because it's where the money's at. It's the big match. It's the one to make. Let's make it happen and let's do it now.
Yes.
When it really matters.
I'm down. I truly am. I could not be more down about, about that because you're right. It'll be... CM Punk says he cares about AEW a lot, right? I believe him. I believe he absolutely does care about AEW a lot. FTR, they care about AEW a lot, no denying. The Young Bucks are EVPs, so they care about AEW a lot. Kenny Omega is an EVP, so he cares about AEW a lot. So all of them care about AEW a lot. So why on earth are they not doing what will be the biggest money match in the history of AEW? If they care about the company, they will put their differences aside. They will be mature about it and they will make some money. You don't have to like them. In fact, sometimes in wrestling, it's good if you don't. But you just have to go out there and earn the money and give the fans what they want. And in the process, earn the promotion a lot of money. I think 100% it is the way to go with it. The only question is, and it's, we have briefly spoke about it. Coby and Shad, you both briefly mentioned it. And that is, of course, Andrade's group. What is, are they going to get involved? Is potentially that the angle? I mean, Clark, do you see a possibility that perhaps this is just a swerve?
So, what actually wouldn't hurt would be, what if they got involved and actually cost the House of Black? And then you can kind of, that at least to save face there, and then they can feud and eventually get back to the trios title. But for now, keep the trios titles in the CMFTR court to set up for the ultimate the one we want.
Yeah.
At All Out.
Now that I think about it, that happening and then you having like potentially like a winner take all match with all the belts on the line with the trios and tag team belts, like if they actually did that, that could be a super game-changing type of like a match.
World title.
Oh yeah, even that.
In the real world title, Kenny can get the real.
This isn't an MTV show either.
And he can erase the marker off of the E on that.
You can definitely use it in the build towards Full Gear, because Punk getting distracted by having the real world title and MJF could be how they lose the trios titles eventually, or how they lose the tag titles eventually, or something, right? There's an easy caveat there, storytelling wise.
I mean, that was going to be my next point, Clark. You said the other day when I actually initially said about my take about it should be CMFTR versus the Elite at All Out. You said instead it should be MJF versus CM Punk. So now
I said the only other choice I think is CM Punk and MJF.
Okay.
It was what I meant by that, by the way.
Right,
I wasn't trying to argue necessarily. I think that would be my plan 1B.
Yes. Right? Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense now. Yeah. I mean, both those matches are must see. And here's the thing in AEW right now, right? They're in a position where there's a lot of matches that people want to see. There's a lot of feuds that people want to see. They're in a very, very good position. So now it's time for them to, in the words of NXT, stand and deliver. But guys, that brings us to the end of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe. If you're on Twitter, a retweet is lovely. And if you're on Twitch, a follow is amazing. And then, of course, if you are watching on Spotify, then a 5-star, a cheeky 5-star would be very, very nice of you. But we will be back here tomorrow. I'm not going to be here, but Clark will be. And they are going to be talking Friday Night SmackDown at 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific. And what time is that Hawaiian clock?
That would be 9 a.m. Hawaiian, and prayers up for Maui and Lahaina. Absolutely.
Aloha. 100% on that one. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy